Hello and welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Ladarga Velazi. Coming up in today's newscast, the IAEA finds traces of uranium at a secret Iranian site flagged by Israel.
The Likud party's camera legislation fails to pass in its first reading.
And Israel's beloved President Reuven Rivlin turns 80 years old today.
It's been a year since Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu called on the International Atomic Energy Agency to inspect what he called a secret atomic warehouse in Tehran. He claimed that Iran had housed over 15 kilograms of unspecified radioactive material at the site. And now it looks as though Netanyahu was right.
According to two unnamed diplomats who are familiar with the agency's work, samples taken in April from the Iranian site in question revealed traces of uranium. And Iran has yet to provide an explanation. Also, while the diplomats acknowledge that there may be several explanations, they say that because Iran has not commented on the report, the IAEA cannot verify the particle's origin, including whether or not the samples predate the 2015 JCPOA agreement.
But either way, at least one thing now appears to be confirmed, that Iran has been hiding nuclear sites and activities from the international community. Meanwhile, this latest report follows Tehran's third major break from the JCPOA as well. On Saturday, Iran said that it had begun to inject uranium gas into advanced centrifuges that are banned under the nuclear deal. And this is after increasing its stockpile of enriched uranium beyond the agreed-upon limits in July and exceeding the 3.67% enrichment limits just 1 week later.
And then to top it all off, Iran blames European powers for the current crisis, saying that Tehran had no choice but to cut back on commitments in response to broken promises. The United States, for its part, though, is pressing European nations to take decisive actions to stop Iran's nuclear extortion.
Well, I'll answer the second question first. I'm not surprised that Iran has announced that it's going to violate the JCPOA. They have been violating it. They had violated the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty for many years, so it's no surprise that the Iranians are going to pursue what the Iranians have always intended to pursue.
Now, in more security-related news, the Hezbollah terror group in Lebanon reportedly shot down and captured an Israeli drone during the early morning hours on Monday. And the IDF has since confirmed the reports. But an official Israeli army statement also explains that there's no reason to worry, as the small copter-style UAV was purely for reconnaissance, so there's no concern that information could be taken from the drone. This latest incident follows 2 weeks of serious escalations in the region, though. On Sunday, August 25th, for example, 2 alleged Israeli drones exploded over Beirut, prompting Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah to vow to shoot down all drones in the future. Then, 1 week later, on September 1st, Hezbollah launched anti-tank missiles towards IDF positions in the north. And the IDF retaliated with over 100 artillery shells. So in preparation for a continued deterioration along the northern Israel border, the IDF launched a large-scale exercise simulating war with Hezbollah and other pro-Iran forces. And the drill, known as Operation Keystone, will primarily focus on the efficiency of senior officers and their staffs in times of conflict. Coincidentally, though, as the IDF prepares for northern clashes continue to find Israel, as a number of rockets were reportedly fired at Israel from the outskirts of Damascus Monday morning. And a Shiite militia operating under IRGC's Quds Force is largely believed to be responsible. The rockets seem to have fallen short, however, and no damages or injuries are reported. And finally, a short while later, unidentified aircrafts launched strikes on a base belonging to Iran-backed militias in Syria near Iraq. According to sources in the area, the base is identified as belonging to the Popular Mobilization Force and the Lebanese Hezbollah group. And at least 18 militants at the base are reported killed. But it's not yet known if the airstrikes and the rocket fire from Syria are connected. And now for more on the conflict between Israel and Iran and Hezbollah, please welcome defense and military correspondent with the Jerusalem Post, Ana Aaron Haim. Welcome.
Hi.
So, Anna, what's caused the tension along the Lebanon border in the last couple of weeks after so many years of relative quiet?
Well, there was a shift, really, and you can actually look back a few months ago when IDF Chief of Staff Kochavi started his position, and his first move, really, against Iran was striking Iranian targets in Syria during the day. And Israel never carried out strikes during the day. And that first shift there has brought us to where we are now, where we're seeing alleged Israeli airstrikes also in Iraq. And if those Israeli airstrikes in Iraq might be that shift as to that tension in Lebanon, we also could look at what we saw in Beirut just a few weeks ago, because Israel hasn't really acted in Beirut since 2006. And that precision missile project that Hezbollah and Iran have been working on for months, that was allegedly the target in Beirut. It was really a sign to Hezbollah that Israel is really serious about stopping this project. But that's, again, connected to Iraq. So if they're going to Iraq, they're going in Syria, they're going in Lebanon, they're all over the map against Iran. And so Iran is not going to take it sitting down, and neither is Hezbollah. And that's really what prompted the tensions.
So are we going to see a sharp increase in conflict and activity across the border? Is it going to ramp up? Or are we going to kind of see more of a steady increase, or just kind of more of the same tit-for-tat sort of attacks?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I would like to say that, this is it. We can go back to our regular day life, that the tensions on the north are going to go back to what we saw before, is quiet, but we know that there's activity happening. But very likely, the way that Iran has reacted, and as you said earlier, there were rockets that were fired from Syria to Israel early this morning. With that type of activity by Iran, Israel is very likely going to continue to hit hard and drive that message home that this is a project that cannot happen, that cannot continue. And their entrenchment also in Yemen is also on the board, is also being talked about. There are reports saying that Israel has been striking in Yemen against Hezbollah targets, against Iranian targets there too, which is something that's not discussed about because we're so focused on the north.
Right.
But it's very likely that in Iraq, if they are Israeli airstrikes, they will continue. In Syria, of course, we're going to see ongoing activity by the Israeli Air Force. Lebanon, not so sure.
All right. Well, Ana Aaron Haim, thank you so much for coming in again and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.
Despite the cabinet unanimously passing the draft legislation on Sunday, the Israeli Knesset has now shut down the controversial bill that would have allowed political observers to go to polling stations with cameras.
And it turns out that aside from the heavy criticisms from Attorney General Mandelblit and Central Elections Committee, Avigdor Lieberman's Israel Beitenu party is the holdout that caused the legislation to fail.
But until Monday's first Knesset vote, expectations were high that the proposal would pass, especially as the right-wing Yamina, Shas, UTJ, Kulanu, and Likud parties all pledged to vote in its favor. And Netanyahu explained during the cabinet meeting Sunday how necessary the bill was for ensuring mutual supervision and transparency in Israel's elections.
Again, though, Israel Beitenu's Avigdor Lieberman shut down the bill, explaining that he would only support cameras at polling stations under the oversight of a state body and not individual parties. And Attorney General Mandelblit still maintains that while adding cameras may be a good idea, the attempted hasty rollout of this plan was aberrant and flawed, with potential to wreak havoc on the voting process and undermine the elections.
And likewise, the Knesset's legal advisor Eyal Inon agrees, adding that this bill raises legitimate fears of voter intimidation while failing to meet the test of constitutionality. And Inon also explains that anyways, the bill is unnecessary as concerns of voter fraud are already addressed in the Central Election Committee's pilot program to position 3,000 non-affiliated monitors at polling stations across the nation.
In other news, Israeli students studying abroad in Warsaw, Poland are recovering today after suffering a violent assault during a night out on the town. And it's believed that a group of young men from Qatar actually carried out the attack early Saturday morning as they asked the students if they were Israeli before then yelling "Free Palestine" and beginning their attack. Well, the violence knocked one young man, Yotam Kashpisky, unconscious, and he's now recovering from a broken nose and eye socket, while another friend was hospitalized and released as well. But Kashpisky says that security at the club where they were did not intervene, going on to also criticize Israel's embassy in Poland for not lending a hand, and instead simply asking the young men to follow up with Warsaw police. Then meanwhile, Kashpisky's brother Barak, who was also attacked, has taken to Facebook, posting that they had not provoked anyone and had been attacked just for being Jews. Anti-Semitic violence in Europe and indeed around the world has been on a steady rise, however. And just as the boys in Warsaw were being attacked, another attack was underway in Berlin, Germany, where a group of 10 to 12 BDS activists attacked Israelis participating in an international film festival. The activists punched two women who later filed criminal complaints, and it all happened during the Q&A session after a screening of a new documentary called King Bibi. Now, on a somewhat related topic, a new law went into effect last week in the French-speaking region of Wallonia, Belgium, making it the second authority in the country after Flanders to ban halal and kosher slaughter over the practice of killing animals without stunning them first. But while the ban is primarily the result of a push by animal welfare activists, Jewish and Muslim groups both fear that it's also a sign of anti-Semitism and anti-immigrant sentiments sweeping across Europe. Well, here to discuss the ban and its implications is Rabbi Menachem, chairman of the European Jewish Association. Rabbi, thank you so much for being with us.
Hello, good afternoon.
So, just to start, what's your initial reaction to this law? Do you agree that it is born of racist ideologies, or do you disagree?
Well, the implications, it's a bit hard to anticipate everything, what can happen. One thing is for sure, this kind of ban, it's not only make the possibility of getting kosher meat more difficult, but it's for sure give very bad signal to the entire Jewish community in Belgium that not necessarily they are wanted in the country as they were before, because the government does not really care about its rights.
And what's the workaround for observant Jewish or Muslim families? Is there even a workaround?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
So is there a workaround for Jewish or Muslim families who want to continue observing?
Yeah, so, actually it's about slaughterhouse, so it's not something that people could perform at home. It's not, for example, if God forbid, circumcision will be forbidden, then the question is indeed what people will do. As of now, yeah, of course, we do import the meat that's imported from other European countries. So it is not that when you go to the kosher store, you cannot really find the kosher meat. The thing is mainly about again, as you said, the feelings and where Belgium is going. Will Belgium will continue after ritual slaughter to ban also circumcision and maybe some other Jewish customs, or Belgium will understand that all its citizens have the full right to enjoy full freedom of religion. And this is where we are standing right now. We are in a deep issue, and I look at that as a real tragedy, not only for the Jewish community in Belgium, but for the entire Jewish community in Europe.
Well, so for the sake of comparison and as an example, maybe, what was the effect of the ban in Flanders? Did Jews and Muslims leave the city? Did, prices of meat skyrocket? Did protests hit the street? Was the economy damaged? What are you maybe expecting now in Wallonia?
So basically, indeed, slaughterhouses, the kosher slaughterhouses that used to operate in Belgium closed down and moved to another country, I think to Hungary or to Poland or both. No, a demonstration will not be helping at this point. The Jewish community and Muslim community upheld in front of the Constitutional Court, claiming that this legislation that passed by the parliament is actually illegal because it is against human rights, which is freedom of religion, is a fundamental human right. The thing is that the Belgian court have decided to send it also to the European court, since European court clearly allowed communities to continue with the ritual slaughter without pre-stunning. So since the claim against the Belgian parliament was that this law is illegal, it's also against European law, therefore the Belgian court have decided to not decide and send it to the European court. So right now, technically, this question is in front of the court and going to take several years until the court will give it a decision. So at this point, we are in a position where on one hand, we do still have kosher meat in Belgium. The battle against this issue moved to the court. It is a very long process, but we are actually doing now, there's actually two things to do right now. One thing is to make sure that Belgium will not go through other attempts of legislation against other Jewish customs. And on the other hand, we do have to try working with the politicians to see how somehow we can work on any amendment that can maybe change the law into positive again.
All right, Rabbi Margolin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, Yom Huledet Sameach, Feliz Cumpleaños, and happy birthday to Israel's 10th President, Reuven Rivlin, who turns 80 today.
Yes, happy birthday. And Rivlin, who many affectionately call Ruvi, has a long and established political career here in Israel. For one, he's a longtime member of the Likud party, and he also speaks fluent Arabic and advocates for minority and children's rights.
That's right, Aaron. And Rivlin started his political career when he was elected to the 12th Knesset in 1988, serving as a Likud chairman until 1993. In 2001, he was appointed Minister of Communications and was then elected as the Knesset Speaker in 2003 and again in 2009 and 2013. And finally, in 2014, he was elected by the Knesset to serve as Israel's president. He's known to have been a harsh critic of Ariel Sharon and has an Orthodox Jewish woman named Rivka Ravitz as his chief of staff. And the two have worked together since 1999.
But wait, there is more, Lidar, because Rivlin's family is just as dynamic. Rivlin's father, for example, was actually the first known person to translate a Quran into Hebrew.
Wow, that's okay.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And the Rivlin family has lived in Jerusalem since before Israel was even a state, stretching all the way back to 1809. As for other fun facts about Reuven, well, he's a vegetarian with a strong love of eggplants.
Eggplants, really?
Eggplant, yeah, I disagree with him there, but to each their own. And he's also, of course, a big football, aka soccer fan, and he's sharing his passion. Rivlin is also known to invite both Arab and Jewish kids to his home to watch big soccer games on a projector.
Well, that's no surprise. In fact, one of Rivlin's bodyguards tells us how Rivlin is a people's person, calling him kind, charming, and good with kids. He even said Rivlin has a romantic side and often showed it when his wife was still alive. Nechama Rivlin passed in July. The president also always says that if you dream big, you can make it happen, and that's what Israel is all about. So here's to Reuven Rivlin. May he live ad 120.
All right, now in the last 20 years, housing in Israel has become a critical problem for a lot of Israelis looking to buy or rent apartments. In fact, housing prices have almost doubled in the past decade, becoming a major topic in the Israeli election arena. Well, here with the story is ILTV's Shana Fold. Shana, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Shana, talk to us about the numbers.
Well, according to the Israel Central Bureau of Statistics, between 2008 and 2018, the prices for housing in Israel doubled. In Israel, you would need more than 120 salaries combined in order to buy yourself a house, while in the US, you would only need about 60, and in Sweden, half that, 30.
And Tel Aviv is the city that suffers the most from this housing crisis, is that right?
That's correct. It seems like young people of Israel are so focused on big cities that the urban scenery they're used to has become non-negotiable. Tel Aviv offers everything young people would want: beaches, nightlife, shops, and also jobs.
So how can people afford it then?
Well, experts say a total shift is on the way. They believe the solution lies in the cities surrounding Tel Aviv. Let's take Netanya, for example. Due to a large influence of French immigrants to the city just north of Tel Aviv, this beach town has become a location for luxury buildings and a higher-end sort of lifestyle.
But that's it? Whoever can't afford to buy or live in Tel Aviv should what, just move to Netanya?
Right.
Well, there's another city that's expected to have an upturn, Bat Yam. Real estate companies are capitalizing on its proximity to Tel Aviv and the fact that it has beautiful beaches. The light rail that is being built is also going to make this a very accessible city. Recently, I myself took a scenic drive down the coast through Bat Yam, and there were a ton of developing beachfront apartments there. Very impressive. Let's take a short look at part of our Cruising Israel show we did about this up-and-coming city.
תושבי חוץ מסתכלים על הנדל"ן בישראל בצורה יותר נקייה מהישראלים. אז יש להם גישה יותר נכונה לנדל"ן, הם מצליחים להבין ולאתר אזורים שהישראלים עוד לא מבינים את הפוטנציאל בהם. אזורים שלאו דווקא נראים כל כך מושכים היום יכולים להיות מאוד אטרקטיביים מחר.
We're here in the Lighthouse building on the 36th floor, where you can see that efforts are being made to complete the construction. Behind me, you can see the incredible view, southwest-facing beach views of the Bat Yam shoreline.
So there you have it. Experts say it's extremely important for other cities in Israel to take this opportunity and make their cities more accessible to young people. We're talking about those who want to live close to big cities but can't really afford the prices.
All right, well, on behalf of myself and others like me, I think that would be wise. And for more information regarding the Lighthouse Project in Bat Yam, please log on to ILTV's Facebook page.
Shana, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
A study done by researchers at Tel Aviv University and published in the September edition of Science magazine is shedding light on a growing issue that could drastically change the face of our oceans. Here with the story is Nittany Manson.
Hey guys. So who doesn't love the ocean, right? I know some people have maybe a fear of open water, but I don't think that anyone can deny the jaw-dropping beauty that is Earth's oceans.
I mean, I know I love the sea. I got my scuba diving license even a few years back, but I'm certainly due for a refresher course.
And if you do that refresher course here in Israel, you'll be able to see some of the most beautiful sights off the coast of Eilat in the Red Sea. Unfortunately, though, one of the best things to see under the water is the coral reefs, and they're in danger. According to Professor Yossi Loya and PhD candidate Tom Schlesinger, at Tel Aviv University School of Zoology, outside influences are drastically impacting the reproduction cycle of the coral.
What does that mean exactly? How do coral reefs even reproduce?
Yeah, right. It's a little weird, but actually it's a very interesting phenomenon. Apparently, their spawning ritual happens once a year, and it only happens at one specific time on a specific day. It has to be extremely well timed, and the coral can be hundreds of kilometers apart, and still they will all release their sperm and eggs into the open water precisely at the same time. Fertilization will then happen in the water, but again, the timing is everything because the sperm and eggs can only survive in the open water for so long.
So basically, we are looking at a possible extinction of coral reefs in the Red Sea?
That's right. The coral knows how to time itself based on a ton of different factors, including water temperature, wind, the phases of the moon, even the timing of the sunset. So anything that is off can really mess with their internal clocks.
Well, I guess the question here is there any hope for fixing this? If humans have caused a disruption, how is this, is this something that we can fix?
Well, the good thing is that according to researchers, this is kind of an early warning sign and really a wake-up call for us. Dr. Schlesinger actually did mention that being able to identify these early signs can help us redirect future research and conservation efforts to be able to do what we can to help.
All right, well, I hope that scientists can figure out a way to keep the coral reefs healthy and thriving, and soon. Nittany Manson, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And finally, Delicious Israel is a touring company offering curated food tours around the markets and backstreets of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So let's join up with ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh for part 2 of her amazing tour through the legendary Machane Yehuda market.
We are back here in the Machane Yehuda market, or Shuk. We're meeting up once again with the Delicious Israel team for a part 2 of our food tour, so let's get started.
Welcome to Israel. These are mixes for tea, different flavors of fruit tea. First of all, I want you to try the ginger and orange peel. So no tea bag, no strainer. You drink the flavor, then eat the fruit. You can make it hot and cold.
I'm just gonna still eat.
This one, apple cider with cinnamon. Open your hand, put it in your mouth, one shot. This one, lemon nana. Guys, if you don't know what nana is, spearmint. I want you to try my granola. It's without oats, but all at once, sweetie. Don't be so Ashkenazi. You know what Ashkenazi, guys? It's European Jew.
Actually, I had to buy something, make sure it's hot, and then it's cold.
So here we have our knafish. We find it in one form or another all over the Arab world. With a sweet cheese called Nablusi cheese and hadayif. It is delicious. It's fresh, it's hot, and it is delicious.
Ready to be eaten. Wow. In heaven.
The next place we're going to, I'm really excited about, it's called Uzieli, the juice guy in Jerusalem.
In Israel, there are lots of stuff based about the etrog. This is, you can spray like this. We make from the peel what kind of essence, and that's very fresh. It's very good to clean the skin.
We eat this?
Yes, you can eat it.
Amen.
Put tiny drop like this, just stick it in your nose.
And whose nostrils?
Yours.
No, yours.
Together.
My nostrils?
Grip. Look at me. You go inside. Now you're
I feel like a new woman. We're praying here. We're trying fruits here. They got me sniffing things here, getting sprayed with the face.
It's gonna give you a boost of energy for the rest of the day.
Am I gonna get high from it?
No, you're gonna be energy. Passion fruit and goat yogurt. Very good for relaxation.
What?
Cut. Scene.
Ruthie, where are we now?
What's cool about this entire market is that everything you see in here is going to be coming from within Israel. So we're doing farm to table without even trying, just because we're a small country.
Where are you?
Looks delicious.
It really, really does.
All right, so let's take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be partly cloudy and warm with a low of 76 or 24 degrees Celsius. Then tomorrow will be partly cloudy again with a high of 86 or 30 degrees Celsius.
And that is it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.53 shekels to the American dollar. For more news from ILTV, please like ILTV on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Ladarga Velazi. Thank you so much for watching.